Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Joy Show, the place where being your authentic self is celebrated and rejoiced in. Each one of us a unique and special human being. So I'm really grateful to be here with you today, and I have an exciting show lined up for you. But first, let's begin with the land acknowledgement. We work, live, and play on the historical and traditional territory of many Indigenous nations. And as we gather from many places on Turtle Island, we as settlers are grateful for the opportunity to meet here, and we thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. We include the Métis, Inuit, and all Indigenous people. And though we are not of African descent, we are committed to continually acting in support of and in solidarity with Black communities seeking freedom and reparative justice in light of the history and ongoing legacy of slavery that continues to impact Black communities in Canada and the US. By making these acknowledgements, we strive to be allies and take an active part in reconciliation. We recognize our oneness, we realize our history, and we choose to create a new reality. We are one. Miigwech. Thank you. Well, my guest today is a remarkable, remarkable man. He's actually my younger brother, and he is the bringer of love. Wherever he goes, whatever he does, love is sort of the focus. When he began his work in the oil and gas industry a number of years ago, he decided in this new shop he was going to bring the love, and so he does. But here he has taken it way beyond just saying, hey, how are you? I love you. I respect you. Get to know you. But here he went that extra mile and became a hero to someone who, well, if it wasn't for Perry, probably wouldn't be here now. So let's welcome Perry Schreiner, a hero in our midst.
Oh, hi there.
Hey, so you, number one, when you started working in this particular company that you're working at now, you decided right at the beginning to bring the love. Can you tell
Absolutely.
us a little bit about what that means or what that looks like?
Well, I worked in quite a few shops throughout my life, and I all of a sudden when I started this new job, I said to my wife that I'm going to do things different. I'm just going to love everybody, and that's how it all started.
Now, how long have you been at that company?
Just a few days over 16 years.
All right. So tell me about those first few days bringing the love. What did that look like, feel like, or how was it received?
Yeah, I kind of run a fine line with that one. I started off with the easiest people there was, and then I worked my way up to some of the supervisors and stuff like that. And it was challenging off the start because
Hmm.
people were super confused. Why is this guy saying I love you? And I took it slow.
Yeah,
Took it slow.
good, good. Now, I know that this journey of yours, your spiritual journey, has been an interesting one because for the most part, you've done it on your own,
Yes.
reading various books, applying the principles you've learned. Can you talk about what got you to pick up that first book and what the first title was that you read?
Uh, the first time it was Think and Grow Rich.
Hmm.
And the reason that I picked that book up was this amazing lady, Caroline Baxter, which sent me to her.
Yeah, she's
And
my best friend.
she was the most incredible lady I've met. She coached me a little bit on some of the issues I was going through at the time with my
Mhm.
children. And she basically turned me into an awesome man that I am today.
I love it. Yeah, she was pretty remarkable and left us way, way too soon.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, so let's talk a little bit. about what happened a week and a half ago.
Okay. I was I had a single mom and her three daughters over for supper. We were helping them out because they were struggling in that. So my wife was joking around and she said to the kids, I'm going to bribe you. And I didn't have no idea what she was talking about. So she's going to give them each $20 to watch Perry's favorite movie or one of them. And it's Rescue by Ruby.
Rescue by Ruby. Okay, I got to watch
So,
that.
and the kids loved it. It's a show for everyone and it's an incredible story. So we watched that. I give them a ride home. We have to cross the bridge where I had that experience, dropped them off. As I was coming back, I noticed out of the corner of my eye someone standing on the wrong side of the railing right over the highway. So I ran a couple red lights, turned around, ran some more, and cautiously, of course. And I get up on the bridge. I put my four ways on and I jump that medium and I'm keeping my distance. I asked the young fellow if I could just talk to him. And he had told me that he was being bullied by police. And my heart went out to him. I understand when you get bullied by anybody.
Yeah.
And I had talked to him for a little bit. And he told me that no one loves him. And I said to him, I love you. And he looked at me and he says, you don't even know me. And I says, I love everybody. And that's the truth. As soon as I said that, I got a connection with him. He would not stop looking at me. And I thought, well, this is going to be a great thing. My adrenaline was flowing. It was quite very stressy. It's not like watching on TV.
No.
I talked to this young man for a while. And at one point, I thought, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to pull this off. I asked him if he would do me a favor. And then my phone rang. I says, can you just hang on a minute? I grabbed my phone, answered it, and it was the police. They were going, where are you? So I gave them the coordinates where I was. And then I just hung up the phone and put it back in my pocket.
Because you had called 911 as you were getting out of your car.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Yes. So I talked to him for a little bit more. And I asked him, can you just please just step over the railing and just talk to me? That'd be more comfortable for me. And seemed like forever. It took a while. Finally, he stepped over the railing. I had grabbed him and he grabbed me just as hard back. And I told him I loved him. And he just wept on my shoulder. And then I just hung on to him. I says, I am not letting you go, buddy. So I hung on to him for quite a long time, and he was not letting go either. And a little while later, all of a sudden, three cruisers showed up, and the one fella came out on the bridge and asked him if he was going to jump, and he said yes. So he said that he'd have to bring him in, take him to the hospital, and he kind of turtled on him. So there was three of them. And my biggest disappointing part was how the one officer handled it, because the one officer said, if you don't give me your arm, I'm going to taser you. And I am like, my exact words were like, and I'm like 6 inches away from this guy. I said, really? That is the best you can be right now? And They took him, put him in the car. I talked to the one officer. I asked him for a favor. I don't know if I will get that favor or not, but if he would please give this young fellow my phone number. So I gave him my name and phone number, and I haven't heard back yet, but he's probably got a bit of a journey. But I feel in my heart that was a game changer for him.
I think so. I think it's interesting when we're in a situation like that, what it takes to choose to step in and do something. What do you think was going through your mind when you decided to turn back and go and try to talk him down?
Well, when I passed and looked and seen what I seen, I thought, oh, I have to do something about this. And the interesting thing, well, when I passed, how many vehicles had passed? And it was a busy Saturday night at 10:30. So, and there's people coming off the highways, semis, you name it. I thought there wasn't one person, and I could understand a few people did not see that. They got their deers in the headlight, whatever, but so many people went past the time I got around to there.
Nobody
And
stopped.
I felt that quite sad because I thought, if I wasn't willing to do it, who was?
Exactly.
So I just took action.
Wow, good for you. Good for you. Now, the when you got to the edge and you're standing there having that conversation, what was going through your mind as you even looked down to see, what was going on below you on that highway below the bridge?
Yeah, I was standing by the railing, and he's on the other side, not hanging on, just freestanding there. And there's only a little wee ledge. And I'm thinking to myself, please, please do not do this in front of me.
Yeah.
Like that would have been my worst day.
Yeah, that would be hard to erase from your
Yes.
memory. Well, you can't erase it, so it'd be trying to deal with it. And was the highway below fairly busy?
Oh yeah, it was semis. It was really busy. Saturday night, it was yeah, it was very busy. And the bridge is shaking. Like when the big trucks were coming over top of the bridge behind me, you could feel the bridge
Of the bridge moved.
swaying a bit, right? And I'm like, man, this guy's standing there, and I am yeah, my adrenaline was going, and it was a high stress moment for me.
No kidding. Now, did the police reach out to you after the fact for any
Mm,
kind of a debrief or
no,
nothing?
they never even. I thought I'd have to write a statement or something. I got zero. Yeah, I thought that was odd. I thought, oh, I got to fill out a statement on
Yeah,
zero.
it's an incident report. Like
Yep.
that's well,
Yeah, that kind of
when a cop
shocked
who
me.
wants to taser somebody who's ready to jump,
Yeah.
it's like you got to question that a little bit for sure. So, how's it been since then? How are you feeling?
Uh, actually pretty good.
Good.
I think it's still there a bit, but I couldn't get it out of my head for the first while. I was at
Yeah.
work and I was really stressed at work. I told my boss that I'm just stressed and this is why.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of people come to me and comment about it, which was pretty incredible in itself, actually.
Yeah, exactly. Well, not everybody could do what you did, and not everybody would even attempt it. Well, as you saw, many cars just drove by. They
Yeah.
didn't do anything. Now this is going to be an interesting question. Was the person white?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So it's not like the cops were being racist at that moment. It's
No.
no, because I always wonder about that. You see the mistreatment of marginalized people all the time, and
Yeah.
and so about how old was this person? Do you think? Do you know?
I was guessing about 22.
Okay, so very
Yeah,
young and ready to pack it in.
yeah,
It's interesting when a person chooses suicide that the um, the decision to do that is, a pretty big one overall. But um, how do you come back from that? Like, I'm just wondering what it's going to be like for him when they release him from the hospital, which they may have done, but they may have
yeah.
taken him somewhere else depending how he was doing. Um, but how do you come back from that? Like the energy that he received from you, I think made a big difference for him.
Uh, I feel it was pretty awesome because when I made the connection with him when I was hanging on to him, I felt that that was a massive game changer for him.
Yeah,
And it wasn't I thought it, I felt it. And I thought he's gonna turn his life around, and I felt that strongly. So
awesome.
I'm I would love to touch base with him somewhere down the road.
Yeah,
I'm focused on that. And he you could tell he was pretty grateful that I had him,
yeah.
big
That's
time.
yeah. It's remarkable when I see people who step up in that way and really act in the best interest of another individual,
Yeah,
even when it puts your own life in peril. And for you, it's not like you were going to fall, but had you watched him jump, that would have been something that would have been very difficult to live with moving on. And yet you still decided to stand there and do your best.
yeah. And
Awesome.
I also like I also thought of grabbing him while he was on the other side of the railing,
Mhm.
and I chose not to because I'm going, if he's committed, now I'm in another situation. I need him to willingly come over the railing, and I was worried or slip or whatever because it's only a little edge, and that could have been me doing the right thing but the wrong way.
Exactly,
So
exactly.
it happened perfectly, and I really am happy about the outcome.
Yeah, I am too. I still remember when you phoned me and told me what had happened, like just the shock that I felt in that moment was pretty pretty remarkable. So moving forward now, uh, as you look at life from this point, what do you think the difference is for you? How has this changed you?
Oh boy, how does it change me?
Easy questions, right? Easy ones, I told you.
Absolutely. Piece of cake. Well, I look at like how people treat each other and how petty it can be. And my focus all day long is to be the best I can be, treat people well. At the same time, don't be a doormat, but treat people well. And everybody's included. So I feel that it gave me, uh, it actually excited me after I got over the adrenaline and the few days of in my head and stuff like that. Yeah, it changed me in a big way where I'm ready to even help more people. Like
Okay.
I've always had that in me, willing to
Mhm.
help someone, and it just gives me the outlook on that's the best way to be, and I'm gonna stick with it. I don't know
Nice,
if I
nice.
answered that for you, but
Yeah, no, I like that. I like that. And if you were to, you're talking about being the best that you can be. So tell me a little bit so our viewers get to know you a little bit. I
yeah.
mean, they see you've done this great thing that you bring the love where you go, but tell us a little bit about your family and your life. What is What is your life like, and what has it been like? Has it all been easy, or have there been challenges?
Well, where do you want me to start? When I had my
Anywhere you like.
daughters, I got 5 daughters.
Five daughters. And
Yeah,
what is the age spread of those five girls?
I think it's 5 years.
Is it five or is it less?
Yeah, mm, that's a loaded question. I might be less.
I
Yeah,
think
because we
it's
had
less.
twins. Yeah, so blended family, and yeah, it's had its challenges, but like right now, they're awesome.
Yeah. So you have five daughters, you have
Yep.
grandchildren,
6 grandchildren,
six grandkids,
2 new puppies.
two new puppies.
Yeah, yeah. So it's that way. It's pretty awesome. Work at a great place.
Hmm.
Love the guys I work with. They're amazing.
It's interesting when you come into a workspace with the energy of, I'm just going to love.
Yeah,
Of course, you'd work someplace where everybody's awesome,
yeah,
right? Because that energy creates the space you're in, right?
yeah. 16 years of it, and I remember when I first. I'm gonna go back. So when I first said that, my wife says, "Oh yeah, good luck with that." All these burly oil guys, yeah, good luck with that, pal, and laughed at me. So yeah, it was funny, but I don't know what it was. I was motivated to do it, and I stuck
Mhm.
with it for 16 years.
It's interesting. I think sometimes we get messages from the universe
Yeah,
that, may not make perfect sense at the time,
yeah,
but it's like, here's what's yours to do.
yeah,
And you're doing it. And I really love that you listened and did it because, yeah, in the industry you work in,
yeah.
guys going in and saying, "Hey, I love you, man." That's probably not the norm.
No, no. It's one part of it we a bunch of us kind of laugh at,
Yeah.
and like I got this one supervisor, Luke. He's a really good guy, and every morning he's, "I love you, buddy," whatever. So this is how we start our day. But one particular day that sticks out was when someone starts, they get a green hat, right?
Mhm.
So he walks by, I'm doing my job, and he goes, "Hey, I love you," and I go, "Yeah, I love you too." Well, this guy he was like, "What is going on here?" And then after a while he figures it out, but it's kind of funny that you see someone that's not used to it,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then all of a sudden they're in the environment and it's going full blast.
I love
Yes.
that.
And the best part about it's not just me now. Now
Yeah.
I got lots of different people. I'll be working away, and then oh yeah, I love you, buddy, whatever,
Yeah.
and it it's just spread. It's amazing.
Well, what's interesting is it's a little bit like a virus. It's
Yeah,
just a good one.
absolutely.
I love that. I love that so much. It's interesting how people respond. I had a situation where I was in one of the drugstores here, a Shoppers Drug Mart, and I was looking for something. I can't remember what it was, but it was an obscure little item. So I'm in the aisle where it's supposed to be, and I'm scanning, and there's a person standing in front of me who's bent over also scanning. And so I look down at him and I see that in front of him is the item I'm looking for.
Yeah,
I said, "Oh, could you excuse me a second? That's what I need down there." And he goes, "Oh, that's what I was looking for too. We were meant to meet." And I went, "I agree. I think so. I love you, man." He goes, "I love you too." And we're having this exchange in the middle of an aisle in a Shoppers Drug Mart. And, it was so funny because I'd never seen the man before. I've never seen him since.
yeah,
And we just had this little exchange. And as we're walking in opposite directions down the aisle, we turn to look at each other and go, "I love you, man."
yeah,
This- and it was just this this fun energy.
Yeah.
I do this a lot, actually. I was walking in a park one day and there was somebody seated on a bench reading The Godfather, and this was just a few months ago. So I went, wow, I read that book. I said, it's a great book. And he goes, yeah, he says, it's the 50th anniversary of when it came out. And I went, wow, I read it when it first came out. And he goes, no way. And I went, oh, I love you, man. It was, the look on my friend's face and the look on his face was, just like he had this big smile, like here's this strange, odd woman saying,
Yeah.
I love you. But what I found with those words and that type of connection is that it's very rich and it's very meaningful, and it is making a difference in our world when we
Yes.
can actually be with one another in a loving and kind and compassionate way. It changes the game. It changes
Absolutely.
the game. You're changing the world by doing what you're doing.
So one other thing I want to bring up is this went on for 16 years.
Yeah,
So I had one of the fellas. So go, well, then what do you leave the ladies out? That's that's another that's a whole different game when you're in the workplace, right?
it is. Yeah.
And I said no. I says I'll tell you how that started, but I'm more cautious that way. But as it goes on, it's less and less. So I'm walking to the lunchroom, and my apprentice is already there, and I told him, I said, Dennis, I love you, buddy. He goes, yeah, I love you too. And one of the secretaries is walking behind me, and her name is Laura, and she says, you never tell me you love me. And I says, I love you, Laura. And ever since then, now I can say it to her, and we have a little joke about it. There's
Yeah.
another lady that was there, and I was talking to her, and I said, love you. And I was walking away, and she goes, love you too. And this other lady was like, what is going on here? This is like outside, right? And then once she figured it out, then she was going, okay, now I know what's going on.
Yeah, I think that's the key is as people get to know you, they begin to see how you are. I remember when we moved into not the house we're in now, but the one before, and meeting the neighbors and stuff, because I always like to meet the neighbors. And so we were chatting with the neighbor next door and met him and his wife, and I only just met them recently, and I gave him a big hug.
Yeah.
Now he's from Guyana, I think. And so he says to his wife later, I only found this out like after 6 years, right? They
Oh,
told
only
me
6 years.
it was after 6 years that they told me this. He goes in and he's talking to her and he goes, like, why is she hugging me?
Yeah, yeah,
And Joan goes, oh, that's just how she is. She hugs everybody.
yeah.
And so he was okay with it. But it was like, he was like, that's not normal. And I remember being at church one time and hugging one of my previous band members who came into this new church that I was at and came in. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's so good to see you. And I'm giving him a big hug. And one of the women in the church goes, your husband's standing right over there. I said, yeah, he'll be over to hug him in a sec. People just aren't quite accustomed to that. We're going to take a brief commercial break,
Okay.
and then we're going to be back with more of Perry and his love. So don't go away. You're watching the New Thought Media Network.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hepperlin Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Spiritual Center, Kitchener, Home Center for Spiritual Living, La Mesa, Satya Center, Center for Spiritual Living, North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for making New Thought Media Network a place to be. Please come be you. And remember, like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
Watch me change when you change the way you look at things. The things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
And we're back, and we're talking to Perry about his journey with the topic of love and sharing that everywhere he goes with everyone he meets. But most importantly, saving the life of a young man who was ready to jump off a bridge in Calgary when Perry drove by and actually stopped and had a conversation with him. And sharing some love, managed to get that young man back to safety. So, this journey of yours has been fascinating. Tell me what it's like with your kids. How do they feel about this energy that you put out and who you are as an individual?
Uh, they feel it's pretty awesome. I feel pretty close to all of them. And with the grandchildren, that's been amazing. Like,
They like you a lot.
yeah, yeah, I'm like their number one. Well, they're getting older now. They're starting to get in their teens, so they're starting to venture a little bit. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's been a pretty amazing. I feel pretty blessed. A lot of people are, even at work, seem horrified when I say I got 5 daughters. They said they got one, and I feel pretty blessed with it.
Well, I
So
think, looking at the way you and Lisa have raised these girls and the work that you've done has been pretty remarkable. You've got 5 girls, very close in age.
yes,
I don't remember how old they were when you got together. Yours were 3.
yeah, the youngest was 2.
So her youngest was 2, that would be Raylyn.
Yeah,
And then the oldest was Amy. And
yeah.
how old was Amy when you met?
So she would have been
5 or 6?
6, maybe
So you're
5.
talking 5 girls,
Yeah,
3 years apart in age.
yeah.
Wow, I'd love to have hung out at your house when they were all teenagers together.
Wow. I'm just gonna relax now. Yeah, I don't know what to say about that. Yeah, it was interesting. And I like to joke around.
Yes.
So Lisa was more serious. So, like the one time she decided she was going to have a water fight with me, right? So she threw a cup of water on me,
Oh, big mistake.
and I ran outside, and I come
Got the
running around
hose.
in the house with the hose. And I hosed her down in the living room, and she's like, "What are you doing? You can't just run the hose in the house." And I says, "I break it, I fix it." And I'm just laughing. So I'm quite a free spirit that way.
It's funny because as much as I laugh, I remember as kids we used to have water fights in the house,
Absolutely.
and Mom would participate.
Yeah.
Oh man, I would lose it if anybody had a water fight in my house today.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Right?
You know what? At the time it was. I mean, I loved it. It was so fun doing that. But I think about it today, as an adult, and I think about the things I have in my home, and I'm like, yeah, no. No water fights here.
Well, as I was growing up too, I raised the bar from, when we were kids, water fights to we had an incident at my house, and I think I own my house, so I can pretty much do what I want in my house, right? So I had my one brother sitting on the table, and the table broke, and all the food hit the floor, and we're like, well, now it's on the floor, and everyone's been walking around and that, so can't put this to waste. So we grabbed it, and we had a food fight. Well,
I missed that.
the
I
best part
missed,
about that is I had to clean it up the next day, right?
of course, of
Yeah.
course. And you don't mind doing that.
No,
So, yeah,
no,
it's like, I'm going to play and I'm going to clean up after my playtime. So
yeah,
all is well.
absolutely, right?
Now, were you with Lisa at the time, or was this prior to you getting married to her?
No, she was involved in one food fight when I invited her over for supper. And
She still married you.
yes, so we were just dating, and then I invited her over for supper, and she comes over, and I'm just peeling potatoes and that, and I'm making her supper, and uh, my brother Brett was there, and he started it. He just grabbed a fork full of potatoes like he was going to throw it at Lisa. And she goes, "Don't you dare." And then before you know it, he flipped it at me. And then pretty soon we just had potatoes. And yeah, Lisa was a little mortified by that. She was,
I'll bet she was, but she still married you.
yeah. So,
We may have to put a
yeah,
saint in front of her name.
yeah, right? Absolutely.
It's so funny. Well, it's interesting as we grow up and the things that we learn, because we come from, a yours, mine, and ours family.
Yeah,
So there were 10 of us. I was the eldest.
yeah.
And it's interesting how, the different ways that we do things and how we do them and where we've gotten to as a result. And I got to say that I think of all of us, you have really stepped up in so many ways. I mean, I remember in school, you struggled in school.
Oh, absolutely.
You talk about that a little bit?
Sure.
Tell me about school.
Oh, school. I did not like school. And it was actually at first, this is my grade one, my very first day of school. I was super shy. I go to school. I have to stand up with the whole class. It wasn't like just by myself. And we had to do that little prayer thing in the morning, singing or whatever they did.
Yeah, we had to
And
sing God Save the Queen. We had to sing
yeah,
O Canada, and we had to say the Lord's Prayer.
and I sat there paralyzed. I could not move. And then at recess, I ran home. I don't know how I did this. I skipped school my first day, ran home, crawled up a ladder onto the roof of the house, which is the scariest thing ever when you're that little, trying to figure out how to get off the ladder onto the roof.
Oh, yeah.
I worked with Dad for the rest of the days, and he always joked around about that day, going, "You used the whole keg of nails on one piece of plywood." I thought I have to be the best worker ever because I don't want to go back there. That was my very first day of school. And then we ended up moving out to the country.
Mm-hmm.
But what I didn't realize, when you go to a country school and they ask you where you're from, you're better off to lie about it and just go, "I'm from another country school." Because when they found out I was from the city, oh, my life was a nightmare. And the bullies were out. And my buddies would always tell me that, "Why don't you just like walk away?" I says, "I'm not a person to be dictated to." So from a
True.
young age.
Yeah, always you had that.
So I would get beat. Like 5 guys would just beat me and leave me on the playground. And then I was like, why would someone want to do that? I don't understand why they're doing this. And finally, I decided, okay, back at ya. So I said to him, each one of you cannot beat me up. 5 of you can. So I'm going to grab one at a time. And I did that for a while.
Yep.
And pretty soon they left me alone, going, okay, this ain't worth it. So that was I got suspended for that. But that was my journey through that one school. And then by the time I went to high school, I ended up in Western Canada High for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden I'm like, wow, this is starting here too. So I smoked. So I had a guy going to pummel me out there, take my cigarettes. It didn't work well for him. And then I decided, you know what? I'm done with school.
What grade did you quit in? Grade 10?
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought I'm done with school. All as it was a big fight fest.
I remember that. I remember the struggles that you had throughout the school years, just fighting all the time.
And then I was one of the lucky ones because I got my own dad would cut my hair. So that made it way easier for me, right? He gave me these fancy hairdos that I really went, sweet dad, thanks a lot. That'll help my fighting skills. I better come up with something.
I shouldn't be laughing, but I remember
Yeah,
those haircuts.
it was bad. I was like,
No wonder you got bullied.
oh yeah, they were just bad hair days every day, and no way I could fix it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's funny because Dad always liked to save a dollar.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So cutting your hair would have been. I had some pretty bad haircuts too. Come to think of it, I don't think he cut it, but they were pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Poor
So
Lincoln.
as as we're getting to our last quarter of this program, what are the things that you think have really contributed to creating the life that you now live? Like
Oh
going
yeah.
from the days when you were bullied and angry and
Yeah.
fighting to now being this person who steps out on a bridge to help a perfect stranger. What is it that got you there? What do you think the biggest learning was for you?
Okay, one of the big turning points for me was I was at work and this one fella says, oh, you like martial arts? I know this fella. He's from Russia and he does jiu-jitsu and all sorts of mixed martial arts. He says, I want you to meet him. So I met him.
Mhm.
And the first thing this guy does is hug me. And I'm like, what's going on? So he grabs me, whatever. And when we leave, you could not leave. And this wasn't a normal dojo. This was more on the street. And
Yeah.
you'd always have to hug him before you leave. And he'd tell me friggin' that was a good round and we'd be on our way. And this happened till it become my new normal because I wasn't used to that.
Wow.
So at first I was like, what's going on here? And then that's the little piece of the puzzle that started to get closeness to other people.
Wow.
And I trained with him for 14 years. So I was committed. So as soon as I find something I commit to, I will stay with it.
Wow. Now, when did you read The Power of Your Subconscious Mind?
When did I read that? Oh my
Or
goodness.
how many times have you read it?
I honestly, I couldn't even tell you how many times I read it because I was like the most amazing book to me, and it's how it was put together.
Hmm.
It's just in pieces, and it was perfect for me.
Right.
And I read that book. The date I started, I can't really say, but I wore it out. I had the duct tape. I remember the book had yellow duct tape on the back. I don't know if Lisa finally tossed it. And then I bought a couple more, right? But I would read that book. I'd go to work and I would read it on every break. And
Wow.
as soon as I got to the end, I would start over. And I've read that book so many times. It was incredible.
Lots of times, Joseph Murphy.
Yeah, I wore the book out. I wore one right out. I had to
Wow.
duct tape it. I friggin' love it.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, when we start to realize the power of the mind, it helps us to look at how we're living and
Oh,
the thoughts that we're thinking just as the days pass.
yeah.
Because a lot of them are pretty negative.
Oh, yeah, they are.
Yeah. And we wonder why our life looks difficult when we're going around saying, oh, it's so hard, or I hate this, or, whatever terminology we're using. But a lot of it is like that. Life is so hard, and I hate doing this, and I'm sick and tired, and all of this languaging that Joseph Murphy would suggest is probably not the best way to create your dreams.
Well, a really cool thing that helped on the bridge
Mhm.
was when I was younger, I come up with this statement that I always know what to say
Oh, I
at the
love
right
that.
time. And I said that since I was really young. And then
Yeah.
when I look back over my life and I look at some of these situations that I've been in,
Yeah.
and I've said the exact right, appropriate words that totally got me out from a dangerous situation or whatever. And I've been in some pretty wild situations to do with gang and stuff like that. And it's
Yep.
not that I was in a gang, but this one guy come whipping out of this house at me when I was picking up my twins. And I said the perfect exact same thing. And I just said that statement over and over again. And when it came down to those moments, I said the right thing.
So what is your statement again? I always say the right thing at the right time, or
Yeah. I always know what to say
I always know what to say.
when I'm in like a high stress situation. I always say the right things.
I love that.
And
Just writing it down because
it's always served me.
well, it will, because that's the power of intention, which is what I talked about last week in my Sunday talk. The
Yeah.
power of intention. When we state an intention, like
Yep.
you did when you started work at this company that you're with now, I'm going to bring the love.
Yeah.
That was an intention. And
That
that
was
intention's been followed through for 16 years.
yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. And I always know the right things to say. That's a powerful intention. And what that does is it sets you up. I mean, you don't have to pre-plan what you're going to say in any stressful
Yeah.
situation. You've already set the intention that it will be appropriate, whatever needs to be said. I love that. I love
So
that.
so like in my home, I've always said I've been safe. My house is my safe place.
Hmm.
And I've always said that really strongly. And there's something that protects my home, hands down, 100%. And when I got validation, it was the coolest thing because my neighbor that lives south of me, her husband got really ill. And we
Hmm.
went over there, and she says, me and Lisa were over there, and she said to me and Lisa, she says, I don't know what it is, but she says, if I feel scared, she says, all I do is look out my window at your house and I immediately feel safe. And I was like, wow, is that confirmation or what?
It's interesting. What I teach is that, there's one thing going on and we live, move, and have our being in it.
Yeah,
And in what you're saying there is you've created this energy and it's permeating out in every direction. And
absolutely.
not only are you feeling it, but the people around you are
Yeah,
feeling it as well.
yeah.
That's very cool.
And
That's very, very
when
cool.
she said that to me, I was like, I don't know her really well, but I always talk to her in the summertime and that anytime I see her, we chit chat. She's been here for quite a few years now. And
Yep.
when she said that to me, I was like, talk about validation right there. What I'm
Yeah.
doing is actually on point.
Yeah. I love that.
So,
I love that, when we set intentions, it doesn't matter what intention we set, but when we set an intention, even you'd said earlier about being the best that you can be,
yeah,
that also is an intention that no matter what comes, I'm going to do my best and be my best. And that also sets us up for remarkable success moving forward. Like something's going to happen that is going to move us in another direction as a result.
yeah. So the interesting thing about being the best I can be and where people get confused, like when I go to work, every day isn't going to be the same. So one
Right.
day you might be sick, but if I'm willing to give 100%, well, I can give 100% at this level because I'm not feeling well, but I'm still not, going, oh, I'm sick, I can't do anything.
Right.
So when people do their best, you might have a broken leg, I don't know, but you can still do
Yeah.
your best that day.
Mhm. Mhm. It's interesting. There's a book called The Four Agreements.
Yep.
And one of the agreements is always do your best.
Yes.
And where we get caught up is people want to be perfect.
Absolutely.
And a perfectionist will never arrive at perfection because they raise their own bar. It's like the minute they
Absolutely.
start getting close, they raise the bar so they can never meet it.
That's
But
right.
doing your best means on a great day, you're up here, and on a poor day, you're here, but you're still doing your best. So everything,
100%.
yeah, I love that.
And then a lot of people miss that, right?
Yeah.
Or they don't even think about it, what your
Hmm.
best actually is. So,
What
yeah,
is your best? Wow. And it does change. I've said that in services and classes. I've said, your best on the day when you've had a good night's sleep and you're feeling healthy is different than your best on the day when your child's kept you up all night and you're feeling sick. Like your
absolutely.
best is going to be in a completely different place, but
Yep.
you're still doing your best. Whereas perfection is the unreachable point.
Unrealistic.
Yeah, it's something, it's how you kind of set yourself up to fail
Yeah. Yeah, I
because
agree with that.
it's not doable.
No
So
problem.
what do you think, if every person comes into life with some unique little gift that they bring that only they can bring in the way that they do, what is your gift? What is your purpose for being here
My
in
purpose
life?
being here
Yeah.
is to spread light, I guess. Love.
Light and love. Yeah, I think you're right. I
I
think that's
that's that's a tough question.
But I think you nailed it. I think for you, that is what it is.
Yeah.
You saved a life on the bridge.
And when I go to work, it's incredible. Like and everyone's going, how can you be so happy all day? Like you're so consistent. And I'm always and yet I got lots of aches and pains.
Yeah. But
I
that
got
doesn't have to change your mood.
no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I can keep on keeping on. So it works out great for me.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, we're down to our last 4.5 minutes.
Okay.
And I like to end with what is one thing that you would like people to take away from this program today? What is one thing you wish everybody could know, do, and whatever?
Well, at work, I look at when I'm sitting around a group of people in the smoke tent or whatever. I listen to what they say. I pay attention, and they like to gossip. But
Mhm.
what a lot of people don't realize about the gossip is that when you're doing it, when you're not around, it's probably they're all talking about you. So it's
Yeah.
like, it's terrible.
Yeah.
And usually I'll get up and walk away because I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
And it's not like where you're gossiping motivationally about someone. Oh, look at how great they're doing. It's always,
It's
and,
always negative.
and I always feel that the only reason they're reaching down to find someone lower than them to feel better about themselves. That's so my
Yeah.
recommendation is just work on not doing it. We're all guilty of it. I know I've done it, but I understand if I do it, you're always reaching down at someone lower than you to make yourself feel better about yourself.
That's, that's very true. That's very true. And the thing about gossip too, when you think about it, whatever you're putting out into the universe is coming back to you.
Right?
So
Right? Absolutely.
it's a
That's
little
rough,
bit,
isn't it? That's called
it
bitter reality.
yeah, when you start to realize that, when I'm talking about somebody else, I actually am doing harm to me. They may not even know that I talked about them. However, I know I did. And there's it's almost like a boomerang effect where
Well,
what I'm putting out is coming back.
yeah, the interesting thing about that is I've read I don't remember the name of the book, but it talks about the inner mind doesn't know the difference whether you're talking about you or someone else. So if you're calling someone else whatever, your inner mind thinks you're talking about yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if anyone can get anything out of that, look out, right?
Careful what you say.
Yeah, because
Careful what you say.
your inner mind will doesn't know the difference.
Yeah.
So it
It
thinks you're
doesn't know
just
the difference between real and imagined events either,
right.
which is really important.
So when
Yeah.
people are gossiping or putting someone down, your inner mind thinks you're talking about yourself,
Wow. That's a great note to stop on.
right?
Wow. I love that. I love that. Perry, thank you so much for being here and agreeing to do this. And
Very
thank
well.
you for stepping in and doing the thing that so many people would not do. And I'm fairly certain had the police shown up first, that guy wouldn't be here today.
Yeah,
I got the feeling 3 cars racing up to somebody standing on a bridge, probably not the best way to handle a jumper. Thank
absolutely.
you, thank you, thank you for who you are, for what you bring. The fact that you're my brother is just a bonus. I love you
Yep.
so much.
I love you
And
too.
yeah, I'm so grateful you're here. So, for everybody watching, just know, be the best that you can be, knowing that that changes day by day. Give a little love wherever you go and know that it comes back to you. And we'll be back again next week with a new story, a new lineup, a new guest, and I'll be
Yeah.
here, same old me. So be sure to like, share, and subscribe. You're watching the New Thought Media Network, and this is The Joy Show. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Okay, love
Bye
you.
for now. See you next time. Hang around for a second, Perry.
On behalf of everyone at New Thought Media Network, thank you for being a member of our virtual family. Your financial contributions help share the New Thought message with people from around the world. Please visit and contribute at www.ntmedia.org/donate. New Thought Media Network, come be you. And please like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, peace and blessings.